Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we are tackling one of the most frustrating challenges of modern life, really. How to actually stick with the great ideas, the business plans, the lifestyle changes we desperately want to make. You know that feeling you think you need some huge, heroic, optimal plan? Maybe the perfect diet or the ultimate marketing strategy, but chasing that elusive perfection, it often just leads to paralysis.
It's the biggest trap. Our mission today is a deep dive into the third law of behavior change. Make it easy. We're going to synthesize why massive motivation is, well, it's consistently less effective than minimal friction. So if you're looking for a shortcut to making habits stick, we're going to explore why action beats planning and why, as they say, the best is the enemy of the good. You don't need willpower. You need a system.
Okay, let's set the stage with a really counterintuitive story. This one comes from a photography class taught by Professor Jerry Olsman at the University of Florida. He divided his students into two very distinct groups.
So you had group one. They were the quantity group. And they were graded solely on, well, the weight of their submissions, the sheer volume of photos they produced.
So just how many they took. That's it.
That's it. 100 photos submitted meant you got an A, 90 photos, a B, and so on. It was purely about raw output.
And then there was group two, the quality group. I'm guessing they were a little different.
Completely different. They were graded on the perceived excellence of their work. They only had to submit one single photograph for the entire semester.
Wow.
But to earn that A, it had to be, a nearly flawless, museum-worthy image, the kind of thing you'd spend weeks agonizing over.
Okay, so what happened? The results must have been fascinating.
Fascinating is the word. At the end of the term, Professor Eelsman found that all the best photos, the most high-quality, inventive, and technically skilled images, came from the quantity group.
The quantity group. That just stops you in your tracks, doesn't it? Why?
Well, think about it. The quantity students were constantly taking pictures, developing film, experimenting with lighting.
They were in the darkroom, messing up.
Exactly. They were learning from hundreds of mistakes. The quality group, on the other hand, they spent their semester sort of paralyzed. They were speculating about theoretical perfection.
Just thinking about the perfect shot.
Right, strategizing about the optimal light source, and ultimately, they just submitted mediocre work built on theories they never even tested.
And this illustrates that foundational problem we all face, the critical difference between motion and action.
That's it. Motion is what traps you in that loop of perfectionism.
Okay, let's unpack this then. Because motion feels productive, that's why we love it, but it produces nothing. It's outlining 20 article ideas or searching for the optimal new diet plan online for hours. All that stuff feels like work, but there's no result.
Right. And action, conversely, is the behavior that delivers an outcome. It is sitting down and actually writing the article.
Or cooking and eating the healthy meal.
Or doing that first set of the workout. Motion is important for preparation. I mean, you need some of it. But if we confuse it with progress, we just get stuck.
But if motion doesn't lead to results, why are we all such experts at it? I mean, I know people who have spent 6 months researching the perfect running shoe instead of just running in the shoes they already own.
It's fear. Ultimately, it's fear. Motion allows us to feel like we are making progress without running the risk of failure or criticism or judgment.
Ah, okay. So it's a way to avoid being vulnerable.
Exactly. Preparation becomes a way to delay that moment of truth. You can tell yourself, oh, I'm still moving in the right direction, when really you're just preparing to get ready to prepare. It's procrastination disguised as productivity.
So the key takeaway here is that to master a habit, we have to prioritize repetition over perfection. We just need to focus on getting our reps in. That's the lesson from those photography students.
Precisely. Practice is the most effective form of learning, not planning. And if we want to guarantee those reps happen, we have to understand what repetition is doing to us biologically. It's not just some psychological trick.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting for me. If I repeat a behavior often enough, what is physically changing in my brain? Is this just willpower, or is there a real, measurable biological shift happening?
There is a definite biological shift. Habit formation is the process where a behavior becomes more and more automatic through repetition. The more you do something, the more your brain changes its own infrastructure to become massively efficient at that specific thing. Neuroscientists call this phenomenon long-term potentiation.
Okay, that's a mouthful. What does that actually mean for us?
It just means the strengthening of connections between your neurons based on recent activity. There's a famous scientific rule for this.
What is it?
It's called Hebb's Law, from all the way back in 1949, and it goes, Neurons that fire together wire together.
Neurons that fire together wire together. I
Sure.
like that.
Think of it like a trail in a dense jungle. The first time you walk it, it's hard work, right? You're hacking through the brush. The 10th time, it's a bit easier. The 100th time, it's a paved road. Repetition is literally tightening those neural pathways. The action just requires less conscious effort.
And we have amazing physical proof of this. We can actually see these changes in people who are experts at something.
Absolutely. You look at musicians, the cerebellum, the part of their brain responsible for complex physical movements, it's measurably larger than in non-musicians or mathematicians. They have increased gray matter in a specific part of the brain, and the size of that area correlates directly with how much time they've spent practicing math.
My favorite example is the London taxi drivers. They have to learn the knowledge, which is the entire city layout. And after years of doing that, their hippocampus, the part of the brain for spatial memory, it becomes significantly larger.
Yeah, but here's the really poignant part of that research. When a driver retired and stopped using that specialized knowledge,
Let me guess, it shrank.
their hippocampus decreased in size. It's amazing. If you stop practicing, the very structure that supports that skill begins to atrophy. This just underscores that repetition isn't just about willpower, it's maintenance, which leads to this critical insight about the habit line.
The habit line.
Yeah, habits follow this path toward automaticity, and the research is really clear on this. Habits form based on frequency, not time.
So all that stuff about 21 days to form a habit is kind of a myth.
It's not about the number of days. It doesn't matter if it's been 21 days or 300. What truly matters is the rate at which you do the behavior. If you only do it once a month, it's never going to be automatic.
But if you do it daily, you cross that threshold much faster.
Right. And to guarantee that frequency, we have to follow what's called the law of least effort. Our brain is wired to conserve energy, so we naturally gravitate toward the easiest option. We are, in a way, motivated to be lazy. We have to leverage that.
And this tendency plays out on a massive global scale. You mentioned anthropologist Jared Diamond's work in Guns, Germs, and Steel.
Oh, it's fascinating. Diamond observed that the main axis of Europe and Asia runs east-west. And because locations along the same latitude share similar climates and seasons, the friction for spreading things like agriculture was extremely low.
Which means a farmer could domesticate wheat in the Middle East,
Yeah.
and that same crop could be adopted all the way across the continent into China without needing huge changes.
But the main axis of the Americas and Africa runs north-south. So the climate varies drastically as you move. The friction was high. Every time people moved, they had to domesticate entirely new plants. The result, agriculture spread 2 to 3 times faster east-west because there was just far less environmental friction.
That is the law of least effort applied to global civilization. It really illustrates the difference between forcing motivation and just removing resistance. Let's bring that back to us, to the personal level, the
Yes.
garden hose analogy.
Right. So you have a bent garden hose and you want to increase the water flow. You have 2 options. You can crank the valve wide open. That's pure motivation. It takes massive effort. Or you can just walk over and remove the bend in the hose.
That's reducing friction.
That's reducing friction. We achieve more, not by trying harder to overcome the friction, but by reducing it until the good habit is the clear path of least resistance.
So one of the most effective strategies is just designing our environment, engineering our surroundings to make the right choice the easiest one.
Yeah.
You're much more likely to go to the gym if it's literally on your way home from work.
Exactly. This is what Japanese firms figured out in the 1970s with lean production. They called it addition by subtraction. They just relentlessly removed waste and friction from the process. This even included redesigning workspaces so employees didn't waste time twisting and turning to reach for their tools.
That twisting and turning sounds so small, such a tiny point of friction.
But eliminating dozens of those tiny frictions resulted in monumental gains. And we see this everywhere today. Ride-sharing, dating apps, meal delivery. They all succeed because they eliminate those little bits of effort that used to stop us.
So how do we apply that no twisting and turning idea to our own homes?
If you want to take your vitamins every morning, don't keep them in a hidden cabinet. Put them right next to your toothbrush. If you want to write more, make sure your laptop and headphones are already set up on the desk when you walk into the room.
We have to get proactively lazy, as one developer, Oswald Knuckles, puts it. It's about priming the environment for your future self. He practices what he calls resetting the room.
I love that phrase.
Yeah. When he finishes watching TV, he puts the remote back in its spot, folds the blanket, He prepares the space for the next time.
Or he proactively wipes down the toilet while the shower water warms up. He's stacking a micro habit onto an existing routine. But the core idea is preparation. If you want to cook a healthy breakfast, you put the skillet on the stove the night before. You make the good habit the path of least resistance for your future lazy self.
This brings us to the actions that deliver an outsized impact. Decisive moments. Habits are like an entrance ramp to a highway. They determine the direction you're going for hours to come.
Exactly. The choreographer Twyla Tharp talked about this. Her daily ritual wasn't the grueling 2 hours of training at the gym. She said the real ritual was hailing the cab and telling the driver where to go. The moment she did that, the workout was inevitable. It was a commitment.
Decisive moments are those forks in the road. Choosing between cooking dinner or ordering takeout. Or that moment you decide to change into workout clothes instead of just crashing on the couch. Mastering these tiny moments, it just points you toward success.
And we have a phenomenal tool for mastering those moments. It's called the 2-minute rule. The rule is simple. When starting any new habit, it should take less than 2 minutes to perform.
So we're scaling the behavior way down until the friction is basically zero. Running 3 miles becomes.
Tying my running shoes.
Reading before bed becomes.
Reading 1 page.
Okay, but you might be thinking, what's the point? Why would I stop after one push-up?
The point is not the push-up. The point is to master the habit of showing up. You have to standardize before you can optimize. You need to become the type of person who never misses a day, even if that day is minimal.
That psychological shift is everything. We heard from a reader who used this to lose over 100 pounds. He struggled with motivation, so he forced himself to stop after just 5 minutes at the gym.
That is just genius, because he eliminated the psychological barrier. Most of us put off going to the gym because we dread the hard 45-minute workout. By agreeing to stop after 5 minutes, he got rid of the resistance, he got his reps in, standardized the habit of showing up, and pretty soon he realized, well, I'm here anyway. I might as well stay a little longer.
So he wasn't relying on willpower. He was relying on the minimal effort it took to do the 2-minute ritual. And that ritual becomes phase 1 of habit shaping, where you can slowly scale up once the habit is locked in.
Okay, now for the inversion. If making it easy works for good habits, we have to do the opposite for bad ones. Make it difficult. We need to increase friction until the bad behavior is practically impossible.
And we do this using a commitment device. A choice you make now that controls your future actions. You're basically locking your future self out of bad decisions. You hear about these historical tactics like Victor Hugo trying to finish The Hunchback of Notre Dame.
Oh, right. He was desperate, on a deadline, but he couldn't stop going out, so he had his assistant lock away all of his clothes.
No way, seriously.
Yeah, left him with just this one large shawl. He physically could not leave his study.
That's extreme, but effective.
And we can apply that today. Asking a waiter to box up half your meal before it's even served is a great commitment device. Or using an outlet timer to cut the power to your Wi-Fi router at 10 p.m.
But the ultimate way to do this is automation through one-time choices. These are actions that take some effort up front, but then deliver value over and over, eliminating the need for daily willpower.
The story John Henry Patterson illustrates this perfectly. He owned a store in the 1800s and was losing money to employee theft because cash was just kept in an open drawer. Theft required very little friction.
So what did he do?
He bought 2 of the first ever cash registers. The machine automatically printed a receipt and locked the cash inside. It made the transaction transparent. Employee theft vanished overnight.
The machine automated ethical behavior.
It eliminated the option of stealing by increasing the friction exponentially. It's the ideal state, relying on systems, not virtue, to get the right outcome.
And we can apply this automation to every part of our lives. You mentioned some one-time actions.
Absolutely. For better sleep, buy blackout curtains. Remove the TV from the bedroom. One-time actions, continuous benefits. For productivity, delete the addictive apps from your phone. Turn off all notifications. For your finances, set up auto bill pay. Enroll in an automatic savings plan. It eliminates that daily decision of whether or not to save.
My personal automation tip was all about forced friction. Every Monday, my assistant would reset the passwords on my social media accounts, log me out of everything. I had to manually contact her on Friday to get the passwords back.
And that friction instantly killed the default behavior of mindlessly checking social media. It made you realize the habit was only there because it was so easy. Once you put up that little wall, the motivation for more important tasks just emerged. They became the new path of least resistance.
So we've covered why repetition trumps the endless pursuit of perfection. We've talked about why we are all motivated by the law of least effort and how to use the 2-minute rule to just show up.
The core strategy is really clear. Stop trying to swim upstream using massive willpower. Instead, design your environment so the right actions are automatically the easiest actions. You can create an environment of inevitability where good habits are virtually guaranteed just by making dozens of these small, permanent changes to the friction in your life.
The philosopher Alfred North Whitehead said, civilization advances by extending the number of operations we can perform without thinking about them. Hmm. So here's a provocative thought, Frono. What is one monthly or yearly task in your life like rebalancing an investment portfolio, making a tax payment, or scheduling a recurring medical checkup that you can automate today so that you never have to think about it or exert energy on it ever again?